Hi, I'm Diana from Possible. We co-design systems for collective well-being, and today we're talking to Matthew Slater, who is a digital nomad working on community currencies. Hi Matt, welcome.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. So could you please tell us what it is what you do as a community currency engineer?
As a community currency engineer, I provide software systems for community currencies. I've built an open source framework, and there are many that's local exchange trading systems, local community groups and time banks which use my software. Then I go around the world and I talk about it, and I try to educate people about money and about the alternatives to money. And I have an online course which I co-authored called the Money and Society MOOC. Because it's one thing to have these alternative money systems, but if no one knows why they should use them or what the benefits are, then they're not going to grow and they're not going to make any difference. So the engineering is both the software engineering, but also maybe a little social engineering as well.
Okay, that sounds pretty interesting. So there's MOOC. You distinguish three types of currencies. Can you summarize them and why it's important to know these differences?
There's lots of different ways of viewing currencies, because it's not an objective, natural phenomenon. Currencies are a social phenomenon. So I made one taxonomy in the MOOC where there are three different kinds of currencies. The first one is like the gold currency, where it's actually a physical commodity that you exchange for whatever it is that you're going to buy. And in some ways that's not a currency at all. It's not social. It doesn't exist in the social realm. It's just a direct barter between two things which are valuable. So a much more common type of currency is a credit-based currency, where the token or the note is a promise of future value. And that's very good for exchange. It means you can give something to me and then I'll give something to you later on. Or not, I'll give something to you, but this piece of paper, you can get it for something later on. So that's the credit-based currencies. And all the money that's issued by banks is credit-based. And then there's the acknowledgement-based currencies. An acknowledgement currency, you can't definitely exchange it for anything. The issuer doesn't guarantee that it's worth anything in terms of what you can get. But the issuer does guarantee that something valuable was done, that the currency was issued in acknowledgement of value being created. And then it's up to other people in the community if they want to accept that proof of value being created in exchange. And if they don't accept it, then it can just accumulate in one person's account, and it can function as a reputation metric.
Okay, would you say that the last currency would be very helpful in communities nowadays challenged by the economical crises that we have?
Well, I think both of the last two are very useful, but they have their different spheres. So the credit-based currencies are optimized for exchange and for commerce. But that's not the whole of the economy, and some neoliberals might think that the marketplace can meet everybody's needs, but it just doesn't. And it also doesn't meet a lot of people's spiritual needs to be contributing to the community. In the neoliberal version of economics, we're all trying to get as much as we can for ourselves, but in real life, many people actually want to give, to contribute, to do meaningful work, and to feel valued as a result, and valued by other people, not just valued by the amount of money they can accumulate. So the acknowledgement currencies can be good for that. People can do things out of the love of the community, from the heart. They don't, the lack of anything to give back to them is not the obstacle, but you can give them a token that's a way of counting and a public acknowledgement that they've done something, and that's enough for them. And that might be what they really want.
So Perhaps you can say some things of how possible and systems we are co-designing could benefit from such a currency, an acknowledgement currency.
So the systems we've been talking about this week are basically volunteering currencies, and you would have local agencies who would acknowledge that good work had been done and would therefore issue the tokens. I call them tokens because we haven't decided exactly what they are yet. So they would be issued to volunteers who would then accumulate them, but they would give the volunteer a status that they could use to get discounts in shops. So without going into too much detail, it enables the shops to recognize the value that the volunteers have created, but not to measure it in money as such. And so these kinds of systems, when you make a platform, you get all the people together on the platform, and there they can coordinate what they're doing for each other. So it makes it easier to volunteer. It means that the right volunteers can be found for the right tasks because they're all in one place. It's a kind of marketplace. And then you have this valuation of the volunteers and a way of passing the gift on, as it were, because the shop will pass the gift on to the volunteer who did the work.
Yes. So these groups of volunteers, or the community on the platform, would you think possible will be able to cut itself loose from the local communities and scale it up? What would the challenges be?
So there are different ways of scaling
You've
up.
been working with Let's, right? And these are all local communities.
So when the Let's scale up, they stay small and they replicate the model. So you can have one independent Let's in each village, but then it's not really scaling up if it's just everywhere, in my opinion. They need to be connected somehow, and it would be the same challenge of scale with Possible. Are you attempting to build one big platform to meet everybody's needs in the country or in the world? Or are you attempting to make a reproducible local design that can be locally owned and modified, and then to have them connect together? So what if I could earn volunteer hours in my town, but then when I'm on holiday I could get discounts, or I could get freebies from elsewhere outside of my town. So these hours, which Possible has, the tokens, which might be hours, would be acknowledged as valuable in other communities. And then you can feel that you've done something locally, but it's being recognized globally. It's just it gives it more value if it has a wider currency.
Yes. Maybe, well, I'm not sure if it's a good question to end this interview with, but what would you say the biggest challenges are to us living in the contemporary economy we have?
I think we, whoever that is, need to get away from the doctrine that everything can be valued in money. And so we need to find other ways of motivating ourselves, but also other ways of valuing what we do. So if these Possible tokens are not worth money, but they are worth discounts, or people give you respect because you've accumulated a lot of them, then you have a much richer tapestry of value, and you can serve more needs and fulfill more people with more interesting and varied metrics.
I fully agree on that. Thank you so much, Matthew, for being here with us with Possible this week. Would you like to know more about Matthew and his work as a community currency engineer? Please follow him on Twitter. He's the Barefoot Economist at Matthew Slater. Thank you, until the next time.